at some point you got to make a change. If you love something, you got to go for
Yeah.
it. I had this dream, but it didn't happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. I want it to happen next year. It took me years. That took 20 years to get to that moment.
Let's talk about how you build a World Series champion like yourself, but also I want to talk about how you build a life and how a man develops over time. The thing I love about Aubrey, and by the way, he's got a new podcast out you should check out. You should check his social media out. We'll talk about that in a little while too. This is a real vulnerable athlete. One of the things I admire about you is your ability to be real. Most athletes sort of put a face on, everything's perfect, I'm a big leaguer, I'm Superman, and you're real about life, your struggles, maybe even demons, etc. But I want to go back because I think everybody, would love to know a little bit about your childhood because I think it defines you.
Yeah.
You were 6 years old and you lost your dad. Why don't you share with everybody the incident that took place with your father when you were a little boy?
Yeah, so I was 6 years old, and hard hitting right out of the gate. But so I was 6 years old, and I was watching the Transformers on my grandmother's couch. And at the time, my grandmother, and we lived in Texas at the time, around Arlington Stadium, and grew up a Texas Rangers fan. And my grandmother loved the Texas Rangers, watched them every night. And my mom was working at Winn-Dixie at the time, and my father was a electrician at a local apartment complex. And one day, my mom comes running into the house, tears streaming down her face. I'm sitting there watching my Transformers, as I said, and everybody's crying. My grandma's crying, my grandpa's crying, my sister's 4 at the time, I'm 6. And she comes up to me and everybody's circled around me. Your dad's been shot, Aubrey. He's not going to come home. Everybody's crying. He just got murdered in Abilene, Texas.
Oh my gosh.
And at the time, at 6 years old, you don't know how to take that.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't hit you, right? So you're kind of just in this shocked thing, I had no idea what to say. And all I did was continue watching the Transformers. Completely shocked. It was one of those weird things, but...
what was it like to watch your mom go through that?
It's weird because I see her hurting the way she did, and I just, for whatever reason, in that moment, even at 6 years old, I put on this mask, this front. I didn't even cry, and it was weird, so I felt that was very interesting. As I got older, and I look back at some of the issues I've had, maybe it was something I didn't deal with as I got older, but I have since become to deal with it. I can't even talk about this back in the day.
Is that right?
If I was to talk about this, I would lose my mind, freak out, and not even want to talk about it. But I've come to terms with that now, and so it's interesting. After my father had passed, I started getting into baseball a little bit more and more. And as a kid, I was starting to take to painting. I loved to paint in acrylics, and as I said, I loved the Texas Rangers growing up. And I was starting to paint this Texas Rangers logo, and it was on this canvas. And my mom comes home one day after work, and she goes, "Hey, I'm going to surprise you guys. I got 3 tickets to the Texas Rangers baseball game." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, all right." So I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to take this canvas and I'm going to take it all the way to the dugout during batting practice, see if I can get some guys to sign it.
Okay.
And at the time, my grandmother's favorite player was Jeff Houston of the Texas Rangers. A little shortstop, didn't do much in the league, but she loved him. And we're at batting practice, and I'm holding this sign up as a kid, and Jeff Houston spots it. Comes right over and goes, "Hey, son, you paint that?" And I said, yeah, I painted that. And he goes, "Wow, it's amazing. Here you go, buddy. You're my grandma's favorite player." He goes, "Oh, that's sweet, man. Hey, fellas, come here.
Wow.
He got about 13 other Rangers to come over and sign my painting. Rafael Palmeiro, Ruben Sierra, Juan Gonzalez, all these studs.
Great players,
right? And these are the guys I idolized growing up. And as these men are walking by in their uniform, as a kid with no father, I'm going,
"Oh, wow.
Oh, these are my idols. These are my father figures," right? And it was in that moment, at that game, sitting there with my mom, I fell in love with baseball.
Wow.
And we get in the car that night. I don't remember who won the game, could care less. And we're driving home, and I said, "Mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up." And it was in that moment, Ed, I knew I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. Just knew it. And if you buy me a batting cage and a pitching machine, I'm going to make the major leagues, and one day I'm going to buy you a house and a car. And my mom, with Winn-Dixie's salary, she's like, "Yeah, that's sweet, honey," as you would expect any mother would say. And for about 3 years, I begged and begged and begged. And as she saw me over those years, from 6 years old to 9, just take over loving baseball, I lived it, I breathed it. I was watching Sports Center every night, idolizing my favorite players, Ken Griffey Jr., watching his swing. I was up till 2 in the morning, she didn't even know it, watching these guys, right? I just lived baseball. And then it was Christmas of 2009. Or I'm sorry, not 2009. I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And my sister, my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, and myself were opening Christmas presents. And Every present was open. There was nothing left of the tree. I had nothing, and I'm sitting there crying. "Ah, I've been a bad boy," right? And my grandpa's a Texas man, and he's like, "You know what? Get up, boy. Get up, boy." Puts a blindfold on me. My mom, my grandpa lead me outside to the backyard. Open up the blindfold, and there was that batting cage with the pitch machine. And as you can imagine, I hugged my grandma, I hugged my grandpa, and they constructed that on their own. Got the pipes up, dug the poles, the whole deal. I mean, on a Winn-Dixie salary, my grandpa chipped in a little bit, but it was in that moment I made a dedication to myself. I promised myself I'm going to hit 200 balls every single day until I graduate high school, and I'm going to make that promise to my mom come true to buy that house and car. So every day, I hit that baseball 200 times a day, and as I'm doing that, I'm visualizing myself hitting a game-winning World Series home run right down the right field line at Arlington Stadium as a kid.
Come on, yeah.
And so I say that as I fast forward to 2010. Okay. I'm playing for the San Francisco Giants. We're playing.
Guess who they're playing?
Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers.
In the ballpark in Arlington. We're up 2-1. It's game 4. The score is 0-0 in the top of the third inning. Runner second. I step up. First pitch, cutting fastball off Tommy Hunter. Hit the ball right down the right field line, just like I envisioned all those times as a kid.
Okay, that's got to be one of the greatest stories ever.
It was unbelievable. To me, it was in that moment where it was like the power of visualization, the power of making your dreams come reality. Now, I think a lot of people, they think that, okay, I had this dream, but it didn't happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. I want it to happen next year. It took me years. That took 20 years to get to that moment.
That's incredible.
You know what I mean? So
what's incredible to me too is, I want to stop there just for a second because everyone's just heard that story. That sounded like a movie. You just heard this. So your dad is actually shot too, which we'll talk about in a minute here, with a .357, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your dad's shot, you're 6 years old, and he's a bystander trying to help somebody in a domestic issue. This man loses his father at 6. 9 goes to the game, gets the batting cage, promises his mom he's going to buy her a house and a car if she'll get him the cage. I picture the guy hitting the 200 hacks a day.
Yeah.
That's what I think of, because I played, and there's people listening that are in sales that are making those calls. They're driving in their car right now on their 4th sales call or 8th sales call, and it seems to add up to nothing. It seems to be making no progress. And because I played ball, I'm just picturing this kid in the backyard hitting those 200 swings every day, day after day after day, to then have that vision to make it happen in the World Series is just bananas. I think it's remarkable.
Well, the key is for me too, is I think in a lot of things in life, I mean, obviously I know you love what you do. That's why you're successful at what you do, because you're helping people. And along the way, playing baseball, I loved it, man.
Yes.
I don't think you can be successful in anything unless you love it. I mean, I got good buddies all over the place. They're doing jobs they hate, and making minimum wage and complaining all the time. But I'm telling them, hey, man, at some point you got to make a change. If you love something, you got to go for it. You may not be successful right out of the gate.
Yeah, you got to keep going. And the other thing is, even if you're making a lot of money at it, but you hate it, if you're going to go, let's just be real, your work life is at least a third of your life, but probably it dominates more than half your thinking. So even if you're making money, but you hate what you're doing, it's pretty difficult to have a great life spending a half or third of your life doing something you hate. It's why it's so important to find, or eventually be able to transition into something that you love. And what's fascinating to me about you, brother, is because you were a great player. You're humble about it, but you were a great player, particularly a great hitter. Like, this dude could just some dudes can hit.
Good thing I could hit, because I didn't play defense very well.
You said that, I didn't. They didn't put a fielding net in your backyard.
No, but if you can get the DH job, that's the best job in the world.
Best job in the world. But I've just pictured this guy, and I love hearing the story, because I'd watch you hit. I'm like, all right, he's 6'4", he's built like a Greek god, that's why he can hit. But had a batting cage, 200 of them, keeping the promise to mom. That's remarkable.
Well, I think what's cool about that too is, like, I think when you're out there grinding every single day, if it's just for you, you're going to give up on yourself, because that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe not for a lot of people, but for me, it had to be selfless, right? And for me, that driving force was my mom, who was there for my sister and I, working that Winn-Dixie, that double shift every day to get us through. Growing up in a double-wide trailer in the trailer park in Texas, right? So, knowing that she went through so much pain, that was my motivation every single day. Mom, right? So I think if you have a powerful enough force behind you, besides yourself, whether it's your faith, your family, or whoever it is, that's going to drive you when things get really hard.
Bro, that's beautiful. I'm so glad you shared this to start. Like, we got into something so magnificent, because it's not also the defense, the events of our life don't define us. It's the meaning we take from these events. And so all of you probably had something in your childhood that shaped you that you're unconscious of. And that's the other thing I want to visit with you a little bit about. So, man, I'm stuck on this just picture of you rounding the bases, hitting this home run in the World Series that you dreamed all this time. This is so beautiful, man.
Well, it's interesting because that's funny you brought that up. So as I'm rounding the bases during that home run, I literally hit second base, and I happened to look up over the third base dugout at the second deck where my mom and sister and I sat when I was 6 years old when she took me to that game. And when I hit second base, I could see myself eating a hot dog, looking down at me doing that moment. And the next thing I knew, I was in the dugout high-fiving my teammates. I had no idea. I kind of blacked out from second to home to all the way to the dugout. It was one of those surreal moments where life just went full circle. To realize the power of the grind of that batting cage and what I was able to accomplish for my mom. And what was interesting, you'll love this, for what I was able to do with my mom. For those of you that are listening, hey, did you get her that house and car?
Yeah, right, that's the next question.
So when I first got my first big league deal with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2003, I signed for a 3 years, $15 million deal. And the first thing I did when I got that first check was, hey, Mom, let's have a son and mom day. You know, I'm going to pick you up in the morning. We're going to have a great day. I had this all planned out already. She had no idea what was going on. So I pick her up for breakfast, and she's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, let's go drive around. I pulled up into since she's a redneck woman from Texas, we pulled into a Dodge dealership, and I said, choose.
Ah, it's a
Choose. So she chose a Dodge Ram pickup truck, and as we're signing the papers, you could see tears streaming down. And at the moment, I was still kind of happy. I wanted to cry, but I didn't quite. This next one will. It made me cry. So I was like, all right, Mom, she's getting her truck. It's not the final surprise. Why don't you follow me? So we hopped in my truck, and I'd had this planned for months ahead of time. And she's pulling in behind me in the driveway of her new house. Oh, the lady, the sales agent's there by the sign that says sold with the keys. I'm looking at the rearview mirror. My mom almost rear ends me because she's like, ah! Got this little two-story beach bungalow on the beach in St. Petersburg, and as the lady's handing over the keys, it was like Niagara Falls, Ed.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
She cried, I cried, and even the agent was crying.
That's so cool. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and become a part of the Max Out community. And tell me what you think about the videos in the comments below. I read all of them every week, and I select winners that get all kinds of prizes, gear, coaching calls with me. Make a comment.